Welcome to our latest installment of Down the Right Field Line. Today we're going to talk about the Marlins' latest acquisition and how it will reshape the rotation. We're also talking about a potential reality TV series focusing on the Marlins for the 2012 season. We're going to be talking about the Yankees' 2012 rotation, and after a flurry of moves will be made, we'll see who makes the cut. And finally, we're talking about the Texas Rangers. You know, with this whole Yu Darvish thing, are they going to get a contract done? What's going to happen? All that and more next.
Welcome guys, this is the first edition of Down the Right Field Line for 2012. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff this year to kind of change it up a little bit. You can fast forward to any part of the show by clicking on any of these boxes. If you want to just watch the entire show, you can just continue watching.
Let's get right into it. A couple weeks ago, the Marlins acquired Big Z from the Chicago Cubs for Chris Volstad. Are you shocked by this move?
Extremely shocked. It was a little bit, you could kind of see it coming with the Ozzie Guillen thing,
Yeah.
but it kind of makes me feel a little comfortable with him.
Yeah, it's funny because if I'm not mistaken, at the end of last season there was speculation that he would end up down here with the Marlins,
Right.
and for some reason as the offseason continued, kind of went away from that, and then boom, lo and behold, we've got the guy, we've got the crazy guy in our rotation. And where do you think he belongs in that rotation?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about the trade a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's a trade that works for both teams. The Marlins are already fed up with Chris Volstad. We had a show a couple weeks ago and we were talking about Chris Volstad's contract. And it was one of those things that Marlins fans, this guy, were fed up with him. He has great stuff, which the Cubs are probably looking at that, but he can't control it. The fastball up, he allows a lot of home runs. So it's a great move to send him to the Cubs. The Cubs maybe can revitalize him. And then bringing Zambrano here, it makes perfect sense just because of the money situation. We're not going to be paying him 11 or 18 million, however much he was going to be making. We're only paying $2.5 million, which is how much Volstad would have cost had we kept him and gone through arbitration. But with Zambrano here, I think he solidified a rotation. You have three starters that have thrown no-hitters. You have Burley, Anibal Sanchez, and Zambrano. And then the last two have no-hit stuff. So it's kind of looking like the rotation. You have a whole bunch of people that on their own might be able to be aces.
Right.
Kind of like the Phillies rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of matches up well with them. And then you have the Braves, who themselves have a young rotation, which is still pretty good. And then the Nationals. The whole NL East is just shaping up to be a pitcher's division.
Definitely. Just the question is, can they keep Zambrano in check? And I think Ozzie can do that job. It's just a matter of, really... And it's funny, I heard that Zambrano has tremendous respect for Ozzie. And so I think that'll help tremendously. And, I feel confident that he can get the job done. And speaking of Big Z, we all know that he is a basket case, I guess. He can be a basket case.
Right.
And so you already start to see that there's a lot of personalities on the team. You've got Big Z, we mentioned. We got our own manager, Ozzie Guillen.
Right.
We've got Lomo, tweeting Lomo. We got Hanley, it's almost like Hanley being Hanley. And then you've got the jolly, Jose Reyes at short.
So with all these personalities, what do you think that will transform as far as maybe a TV show?
Funny you mention that, because the San Francisco Giants hosted their own TV show on Showtime called The Franchise. Basically what it is the camera crews follow the Giants throughout the season, and it happened to be after they winning the World Series. And not only that, but they had personalities all over the place, from Tim Lincecum to Pablo Sandoval to
Brian Wilson.
To Bruce Bochy, their own manager, so on and so forth. And we're starting to see that, you know what, the Marlins can have that flair, that personality type of thing that you want to follow. And funny enough, the Miami Herald reported that the Marlins are being considered as one of the teams to follow. And what an amazing series would that be? Would you get Showtime just to watch it?
I actually would. I mean, I don't subscribe to any of the HBOs, all that stuff. I'd rather just download the movies and everything. But Showtime, if they had the Marlins on it, I think I would be really entertained. I mean, this is just following Ozzie Guillen around. I would be entertained. This guy's hilarious. Then you got Big Z and all these other guys. I mean, I think it's going to make for a great show. And then you might find out some people like Brian Peterson or something. This guy you might notice that this guy is really funny. I mean, Lomo tweeted a picture of him and Brian Peterson in a tub together. The most awkward picture I've ever seen.
And do you think it's a good idea in the sense that, you know, it's this first year together, you know, new team, new ballpark, new friend, you know, all of this new stuff, and now you're having the cameras on you.
Right.
For more than 162 days. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it'll help them? I read that Lomo feels like as long as the number one goal is to win, it should not be a problem. But, you know, you have your personalities, Hanley being one of them, and can there be drama in there that you may not want to see?
There will be drama, and it's definitely going to be something that is going to take some getting used to. But at the same time, this is a new time for the Marlins. This isn't the Florida Marlins. This isn't all the losing seasons that we had. This is a new deal. We are a big deal now. And I feel like a lot of the players didn't perform in big spots even last year just because they weren't used to that pressure of taking it up to the next level.
Another team that seems to always be in the spotlight are the New York Yankees. And this offseason, they kind of started off slow, not making major moves here and there, but within the last couple of days, they've beefed up their rotation by acquiring Michael Pineda from the Mariners for Jesus Montero. And then, I believe a few hours later, signing Hiroki Kuroda to a 1-year, $10 million deal. That puts a nice problem. You have CeCe, AJ, Phil Hughes. You have Ivan Nova, Kuroda, Michael Pineda, and Freddie Garcia. So, who makes the cut? What happens here? Because we did say it was a good problem to have, but at the same time, you just finished signing Freddie Garcia to a 1-year deal. How does that work?
It's definitely a situation you'd rather be in, but you'd rather be in it because you can send a guy down to the minors.
Right.
Ivan Nova, I'm fairly certain still has option years left, but I mean the guy pitched really well last year. So he kind of, you know, what are you going to do with him? Are you going to make him a long reliever? I can already see Phil Hughes maybe slotting into the bullpen. But what do you do with him? Do you slot him into the rotation just because of the year he had last year? Or do you say, okay, AJ Burnett, you're out of here?
Well, we've seen that AJ, for some odd reason, is off and on with the Yankees. Ivan Nova, I believe, has solidified his spot in the rotation after his performance last year. And so, if you can find a deal that trades, that sends AJ somewhere, that would be ideal. Maybe even send Hughes somewhere.
Okay, well that's a pretty interesting perspective. Now, as far as the Pineda trade, do you think it was a trade that needed to get done? Or was it a trade that if Seattle didn't jump on that trade to get a young guy like Jesus Montero? Do you think it was one of those things, we're not going to trade Pineda, but this is too good of an offer to pass up?
Yeah, I can see that. I can agree with that. But to be honest, I mean, the Yankees were saving Jesus Montero. And so because of that, now you've traded away your future. And to get a pitcher who, 1 year of success, I guess you can call it success.
Well, I mean, he has 1 year success, but At the same time, the same reason why the Cubs made the trade for Volstad, he has great stuff. I think Pineda will definitely slot in, I think, number 3 on the Yankees rotation. You know, this guy, yeah, he had one good year. I see him as the next Felix Hernandez. You see his electric stuff. You see his presence on the mound. He's just... I really wish he would have stayed with Seattle just because they could have built a dynasty with pitching, kind of like the Giants did.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, at the same time, you know, I understand why they made the trade.
Now moving to another opponent in the AL West and defending American League champion Texas Rangers, they're still negotiating with Yu Darvish. We're hearing rumblings that the Rangers are also meeting with Prince Fielder. Now there's different theories to this. They're either forcing Yu Darvish's hand to accept an offer, or they're starting to see, well, they're trying to block other teams from getting him, lowballing him on the offer, and then if he goes back to Japan for 1 year, oh well, nobody gets him. What's your take? Do you think the Texas Rangers need pitching, or do they need hitting?
I mean, we saw last year in the World Series, the Rangers have tons of pitching, and they still keep making the World Series. This team has plenty of pitching. Yes, Yu Darvish will make that rotation even stronger, especially now that you have the Angels in that division with the big pop. Maybe you bring in a guy like Prince Fielder. Prince Fielder in that stadium will hit 50 or 60 home runs. Very good hitter's park, and you put a guy like Prince Fielder in there, this guy's just going to destroy.
I agree with you 100%. Like you mentioned, Arlington is a hitter's ballpark. You need to hit. You need to win with hitting, and because of that, he's the perfect mold. And not only that, but doesn't it make it like now Prince Fielder follows Albert Pujols into the next division, and so that just makes for great TV, makes for great publicity, makes for great marketing, everything. So in other news, Bud Selig just signed an extension with Major League Baseball to the 2014 season. And with that, Rob's going to talk about whether this move was good or bad for baseball in his Fair or Foul segment.
So when Bud Selig went into office, it was 1994. Major League Baseball was in disarray. You had strikes every 4 years. You had lockouts. The 94 season didn't have a World Series because of the lockout, which was a huge disaster for Major League Baseball since they raised so much money in the playoffs. So now Bud Selig has taken the sport from disarray to now instituting the wild card in the early 90s, instituting interleague play, which has been a huge success as far as drawing fans. And now he's going to institute a more balanced league. We're going to have 15-team leagues. We're going to have 2 additional wild cards. And that institution of the wild card game, I think, is going to draw a lot of ratings, draw a lot of fans, because now it's kind of playing on what makes football so popular. One game, win or die, let's do it right there. So Bud Selig has made changes, very smart changes, I think, for baseball, stuff that baseball has needed, and I think he has taken the sport to a new level. A lot of people have disagreed with the moves that Bud Selig has made for the integrity of the game, saying that all this stuff hasn't been done in the past. You know, Babe Ruth only played in 140 games. You know, all these changes are bad for baseball because of the integrity of the game. Yes, all these changes do affect the integrity of the game, but they make the game better. This is the 21st century. You have to adapt the game to the people. The people want replay because they can see replay all over the place. So all these things are good for baseball. Bud Selig is good for baseball. He's made a lot of moves that I think have made the game more competitive and have made the game more fun.
Well, that wraps it up for this installment of Down the Right Field Line. Before we go, we'd like to pose a question to you. How many wins will Caller Zambrano have this season? Well, that's it for this week. And now we'll leave you with our random video of the week, which we like to call
The Major League Out.